It's Judy on the radio, building dreams and achieving more, telling it just like it is. Most of all, keeping it real. Are you ready for real talk? Changing lives and communities. Real talk. Saving all our families. Real talk. Bringing hope for you and me. Real talk. Real talk with Judy. Real talk with Judy on the radio. Real talk with Judy. Real talk with Judy on the radio.
Well, good morning and welcome to the Real Talk with Judy show. I am Dr. Judy, your Real Talk host, and thank you for being with me today, Tuesday, September the 28th, 2021, right here on Hallelujah 95.3 FM and at Real Talk with Judy live radio show on Facebook Live and Instagram and YouTube. So we are very excited that you decided to tune in with us again today. I want you to take a few seconds on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube. Go ahead and share it, like it, invite others. I promise you, you're going to be blessed today. This show is going to bless you. Call your friends, your family members, anyone that you know who's dealing with unexpected circumstances. This show is going to bless you. I promise you. And I promise you, this show was strategically orchestrated by God. You'll see what I mean as we get into the show, but you got to trust me and go ahead and get people on here. And if you're on the radio or at your desk or on the app, would you go ahead and contact your folks and get them on here? Call, text them, email them, and let them know that the Dream Building Show, talking about real issues with real people, real conversation, and useful information. The show which is empowering, inspiring, igniting, and taking you from the end of your dream to the beginning of your dream and helping you find your why in life and building your faith is on the air. We're keeping it real right here with Dr. Judy. We're on for 1 full hour. We want you to go ahead and get them on. Hello, Mama. My mom up down there in Fort Lauderdale. Hello, Mother Irma. Hello, Wesley. So glad that you're on, all of my sisters and all of you who are tuning in. I'm so glad and honored that you tuned in today. And to my awesome and amazing husband, Lieutenant Gerald Mandrell, who's the reason I get to do what I do. And of course, my amazing team led by our marketing director, Priscilla John Louis, who helps me deliver an award-winning show to a great audience every Tuesday. Thank you. And of course to you, the most amazing audience of the Real Talk with Judy live radio show. Thank you for tuning in every Tuesday, 11:30 to 12:30, to give your input, to ask questions, and to really get started. To all of the businesses, thank you for being investing partners of the Real Talk with Judy show. And you can find their names being scrolled at the bottom of the screen. And I want to thank you for your continued support. Listen, today I am really excited. I had one experience this morning, and you'll hear about it later on. But I honestly believe that the guest was orchestrated, or it was a divine happening to have her here today. And I meant to ask her earlier, could I tell her age? Because she don't. I'm gonna let her tell it. But I mean, beautiful. A woman that I admire. Worked in Children and Family Services, but also she's my cousin's godmother, and so her husband, former Mayor John Marks, and Miss Jane have been a part of our family. My Uncle Skip and Aunt Ellen and their godchildren forever. Forever. But I am happy to have her here today. It's going to be she who helped me get us to a place of understanding, or at least getting some pointers of managing the unexpected. I believe all of us have gone through a time of dealing with unexpected. We're definitely living an unexpected time right now. And once we get started and share something, I had to have mental counseling before I got on here today. So I had to call a mental counselor to help me, make sure that I give you all my energy today before coming on here, and we'll deal with that. She is a mental health counselor, a family therapist, a mental health and wellness expert for the Black News Channel. Is that right? And she's the host of From Your Heart. And so some of you all know her, some of you all do not, but I promise you, you will be blessed today. You'll be inspired and motivated. And not only that, you will get some pointers on how to handle or manage the unexpected. I am honored and happy to have Miss Jane Marks with me today.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here. You know, I saw the opening and I was very excited because I see patients during the day. I never have a chance to listen and you know, focus on that on my patients, and to see the opening this morning was that was an exciting moment for me. That was one of those moments that you know, we have to look for these kinds of moments during these times, and those moments that just sort of take our breath away, because make no mistake about it, Judy, these are tough times. We are navigating, certainly in my lifetime, the most difficult times I think that this nation, with this world, has had to manage this just on a daily basis. We're seeing the unexpected. We're, you know, things like that we used to be concerned about, was like near miss car accidents, or, you know, we didn't get the rent in on time. Those are kind of things. Now we're dealing with life and death issues.
Yeah,
on a daily basis.
A daily basis, Jane. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to change. I didn't know, well, this morning call that I received is the reason why I changed this subject. And I'm glad I have you on, because mentally, I think a lot of things take us out. Mentally, we hold so many things in, and we don't talk with anybody, and we become overwhelmed. Let me tell you about the call I had this morning. So I received a call this morning, and it was from a private number. Number one, I don't answer private calls. Okay, just in case anybody else doesn't call me, please please show your number. Okay, but anyway, the caller called 3 times. That would make me answer. So I answered the call, and she said, "Is this Dr. Judy Mandrell?" And I said, "Yes, it is." And she said, "I just want to talk with you and explain to you how you have impacted my life. And I want you to know that you mean so much to me." And she went on and to talk about what an impact, an inspiration, motivation. And I was like, and to myself, I'm thinking, I know she didn't call me at that time of the morning to tell me what I meant, right? And then I said, well, maybe we can meet later. Maybe we can talk a little later about this. And she said, I probably won't. No, she said, I won't be here. And I said, are you leaving Tallahassee? I didn't know where she was calling from. And she did let me know that she wasn't from Tallahassee. But this is what she said. She said, I probably won't be here. And I was like, are you moving? And then she said this, no, I'm thinking about killing myself. She said, I am going to kill myself. Imagine getting that call first thing early this morning. And she said, I'm going to kill myself. I want to talk to you before I kill myself. 911. That's what I did. I used to be a crisis counselor and answering calls. I worked a midnight shift. And one night someone called and said that they were going to kill themselves. They taught us how to handle those things, right? And I was 3 counselors there. We called the police. When they walked in the door, the person killed themselves. That stayed with me for a long time. This morning, I was like, wow, what to do? The number was private. I didn't know her name. She stated I don't know her. But she has been impacted by my life. When they got there, y'all, she had a gun. She had a gun. They were able to save her life, rescue her for that moment. I called Ms. Jane so we can change this subject. And she said that we have to learn how to manage it unexpected because of different life situations.
Yeah, you know, navigating tough times and managing the unexpected. And for you, I think it speaks volumes for you. This woman thought so highly of you, or there's something you have said, in whether it was on your show or whether she met you, because we don't know what the circumstances were. But indeed, it was life-changing, so much so that she reached out to you. Now, you know, some public personalities would just say, you know what, really, I don't have time to talk about this, but there was a calling in you to say, you know what, I need to manage this point. What you did at that point, Judy, was you trusted your gut. And by trusting your gut at that point, you were able to save a lot. You know, and I think sometimes we're so exhausted, and we're, quite frankly, as a community, we're all exhausted. But there's just so many things that we don't often take the time to do what we know we probably should do. But we're just so exhausted. We think, okay, we can postpone this. You did not postpone it, and because you did not postpone it, again, save.
Wow. Wow. Y'all just can only imagine. I can only imagine. And I became overwhelmed for a moment because that was an unexpected call. And then a life situation. And so I'm going to find out who she is. I don't know who she is, but I will find out because I know they have a record. And I hope they can give it. I know they got the HIPAA law and all that.
Right. That you may or you may not be able to find out. But what you can do probably, I think, at some point is to reach out to her on your radio show and say, I'm still here. If you ever need me, I will step up again. You know, because I think you're right about getting around the laws right now because of privacy issues. You may not ever discover. And I think there are a lot of people who make choices and do things for people without being able to contact them to see the follow-up. But in a situation like this, she reached out to you. And so I think because you are, you have this venue to reach out to her to say, there will come a time you may need me again, just reach out. I'm here.
Wow, thank you, Jeff. And so we got so much happening in this city. We got so much happening in this country. The young man who died yesterday at Fairview. We got teachers. I just got another call before I came. Another teacher died Saturday. So how do, and people are hurting, Jane. They want to give up. How do we get on the road of navigation now? And I'm gonna tell you why we're going this way. I am believing in God. One thing I believe I believe that God, we hold on that God will help us. I believe that. And also I believe that He has given us counselors, different people, to help her right here on earth. And today, Jane, I got you on here to help us with all these thousands of listeners, so you all can hear some stuff. So what would be some of the first steps you tell us?
Well, I think the first step in just navigating these very difficult times, just like you said, is that I think all of us have to recognize that we're not alone in handling these things. In other words, there's so many of us that are going through the same things. You talk about these major losses and so many multiple deaths for so many reasons. And certainly the pandemic has it's changed the way we look at our health and our safety, but also we have to recognize it's the unexpected loss that just comes out of nowhere. And so, as we go about the business of managing our days, these things are going to happen. And, for us, we have to be very mindful and very, very intentional about how we care for ourselves. Historically, we always thought things like diet and exercise and sleep were there, okay, we're going to pay attention to it. Now it's no longer much. If we don't do these things intentionally, then we're not going to be able to do exactly what you did today. And that was to be able to step up. If we're not prayerful, you step into your faith, as so many people do. And again, that's another tool that we have in order to get through these very difficult times. When you stay connected with an audience. Mm-hmm. Now, for your audience, they need to stay connected with family members, people who are close to them, whether it's husbands, wives, children, church members, work colleagues. You must stay connected, not only to be connected, but also to support others, because that's healthy for both of them. So that's just a few of the ways to kind of manage these times. I can talk about basic kinds of things, but when you talk about the essentials are that in order to be able to care for others, first of all, you have to focus on yourself.
Yes.
And without that, you can't be there for anyone. If you're exhausted, if you're overworking, if you're doing too many things, if you can't focus and you can't concentrate, you can't devote the kind of attention that you did to this caller this morning. And for other families, they're dealing with all sorts of things, economic disparity or the fact that kids are, on any given day, your kid can be pulled out of school because he was exposed to COVID and it's got to be quarantined for 2 weeks. How are you going to manage that? Do you have the money for childcare? What are you going to do so that you can go to work, make sure you provide a meal for your children, and still take care of everyone's needs. But you know what? What's interesting to me is that I've seen a nation now that has learned to become more resilient. It's not, again, it's not an option. You've got to be able to pivot on the dime and then to say, all right, I can't get worked up. I can't over focus. I can't hyper focus about how nervous this makes me. You acknowledge the fact that you're anxious. You acknowledge the fact that you feel bad, but you still got to step up and move on.
That's real talk. So you got to take care of yourself. Y'all, I hope y'all will write this point down. And if you're having a question, we'll open it up just a little bit. But if you got to take care of yourself. You must take care of yourself. And that means taking care of your body, getting exercise, eating the right food, correct?
Absolutely. And the other thing that we forget is that because we've been so concerned about COVID, we have forgotten to take care of regular medical appointments, like just your basic physical, dental, eye. These are the kinds of things that we let go by the wayside. Right. We can't do that. We've got to take care of our health. Again, because we don't know what's going to happen in the next 3 hours.
She said the next 3 hours, not the next day, the next 3 hours. And that's what's happening with us, you all. And then we're panicking, we're becoming overwhelmed. The Bible says that men's heart will fail them because of fear. And we're fearful, we're fretful, but we have to, my safe place really is the church and the Word of God. And I'm a believer. For me, this disconnect from going into the house of the Lord, I think that added a certain type of we was on Sister Girls fellowship last night, and someone said that they just feel so disconnected to the world. They feel disconnected to everybody, and it was like I'm in a bad place.
Well, they're disconnected because I think there's a real reality in that, Judy. Because we've had to isolate. Think about this. Because of the pandemic, don't you sometimes feel like you're on house arrest? You feel like you can't go anywhere and you can't do those things, can't open up opportunities. I mean, I think you're like me. I can remember a time in my house at this point of the year, we've had like 7 or 8 major events at the house. We haven't had a major event in 2 years. And so, I think this sister girl was absolutely right. She is feeling disconnected because that's the way it is at this point. So you've got to find other ways to reconnect. Whether it's texting or whether it's going on social media. It's like watching Facebook like today, and it makes you feel a sense of engagement. People who watch your show, think about this. People who watch your show feel like they belong. There's a sense of belonging and a sense of engagement because they know that you're going to reach out to them and you're going to say, today, I care about you. I care about where you are, what's going on with you. And I'm here to serve you. I'm here to offer you some advice, spiritual advice, physical advice, mental advice, emotional advice. But I'm here for you. Yeah. So, I think you're providing tremendous opportunity for people to stay connected.
And that's what it's about, Jane, because I honestly believe that. I mean, we have people here. I want to say again, hello to all of you who are tuned in, to those on YouTube and Facebook, on the radio. Thank you so very much for tuning in. But we got to stay connected. And today we want to help you manage some of the things that you're managing only in your mind. Because if you don't release it, if you don't talk to people, if you don't, and if that's taking care of you, I keep preaching that, especially this time of year now, Jane, because it's just even with the COVID and as you said, missing a point. I read that people hadn't been keeping their regular medical appointment, their breast exam, the mammograms and physicals. We got to take care of ourselves because it seems like some of these diseases are worse because we're not in good shape.
Yeah, because we neglected that, we followed exactly. I think so many of us followed exactly what medical experts told us to do. But
Yeah.
by doing so, you let a lot of major things go by the wayside, and we just can't afford to do that anymore. And I think as more people become vaccinated and feel more secure, you would make sure you go back and take care of basic kinds of things. Those small surgeries that they just said at this point, they had to let them go. People who had like torn meniscus or torn rotator cuffs, things that impair your functioning. If you can go back at this point and try and get those things set up, that's still part of self-care.
Yeah. And what would you say? I know you said get on the track of taking care of ourselves. How do we handle? How do people release the mental thoughts that seem to just always come up? You're sitting there, and all of a sudden, all of these heavy thoughts, negative thoughts, fearful thoughts come into your mind.
There's so many strategies you can use, in terms of if you start your day with mindful meditation or mindful prayer, then you're gonna start the day in a way not anticipating these kinds of negative thoughts, but sometimes it just happens, and it's gonna happen.
Mhm.
So one of the things I teach my patients, it works, it's beautiful the way it works. Say, okay, I'm anxious, I'm having these negative thoughts. I accept that, and I'm going to allow myself 5 minutes to think about these thoughts.
Okay.
But after that, I'm going to put my alarm on, and at 12 o'clock, it's over. I've got to start over, and I cannot go back to it until 1 o'clock. So what you do is that essentially what you do is you structure the time that you spend on these kinds of negative thoughts. And what it does for most folks, just come like, you know what? At first I thought that was a ridiculous idea. Ridiculous. However, because you had to think about it, it made me pause. And that's what you got to do is to pause. Pause and think about, does this really serve me? Does this really make sense for me? Or can I somehow just go ahead and let this go? And I think for a lot of people, that's all you have to do. Now, I'll tell you the other thing that helps enormously. That negative thinking, it really takes a hold of it. One of the things I've had suicidal patients, and this is a true story. I remember one year I had a young woman who came in to see me. She's pregnant, and she was clear. She says, I have a plan, and I have these pills. I'm going to take these. And I said, well, you know what? My recommendation is that I come to you if we take you to the emergency. She said, I can't. I have a child at home, and now she still has these pills. I said, well, I'll tell you what. You leave the pills with me, and I'm going to trust you to make a decision. If you're going to follow through on this, I'm going to trust you to do. If I make some recommendations, we follow. She hesitated, and I said, you have this baby girl also, not including the one that you're about to have. I said, I want you to go here in the city, because I'm sure your audience is bigger than just in the city. I want you to go to Lake Ellis. Here's what you got to do. You've got to walk around this lake 9 times, and then you come back to my office. Let's see how you're doing. Well, she did. She came back, and she said, why did this work? She says, I have a whole new perspective. Wow. And so what happened was that serotonin was lifted. The clarity came, and her mood shifted. Now, I'm not saying that that's going to work in every situation. I'm saying that this is a particular, it was an individual situation that she was pregnant, and I was concerned about. And in some cases, another clinician might have just said, no, I'm going to call 911. But again, at that particular point, I trusted my gut. I did exactly what you did. And you know what? I just have a sense that she's going to follow through. She did. Oh, and by the way, I had phone numbers and all the phone numbers. Just in case. I did have a backup, and she had, I set up a time for her to get back with me. I said that it was highly structured. So I think that exercise and the importance of exercise in terms of maintaining good health is critical. Now, what we tell most patients is if you're experiencing extreme anxiety, 45 minutes of regular exercise every single day. If you're not, you can certainly do a little bit less. I think what most health experts say it's 150 minutes per week. Now, when you come and see me in my office, I'm going to tell you, oh, no, 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 no. 30 to 45 minutes every single day.
And that helps clear the head.
It does. It really does. And you know, so often I have patients come in and they're just, when they come and see me, people don't come to see me for personal growth and development. I wish they did, but they don't. They come because of a crisis. And so I will give them a series of recommendations. And by just participating in significant self-care, I see between 40 to 80% improvement, no therapy. You know, in other words, what happens is you're saying, first, let's prioritize you, and you take care of yourself first, and let's see. Now, I'm not saying that happens in every case, but it happens in so many cases. And that's what patients want. They want to be able to improve their function. They've got to be able to function. They've got to be able to meet the demands of the day. And so I start off by saying 45 minutes a day. And then I want you to also pay attention to how you're eating. And it is not just diet, it is protein. The reason for protein is that it stabilizes your blood sugar. When your blood sugar is stable, you're likely to have breakthrough anxiety. So the importance of nutrition and mental health is also a very big factor in being able to maintain these or navigate these unexpected, you know, experiences like you're gonna have.
Yeah. And so listen. So the first, and even if you're doing this, do it more, because this world is fastly changing. The anxieties, the uncertainties, the different things that's happening. Take care of yourself. Get up early enough to start to have a morning devotion. Mm-hmm. Get up early enough to do that. I talked with my banker today, and she texted me this morning at 4:15. I mean, well, she emailed me. I checked my email, and I called. I said, "Are you up that early?" And she said, in order to get my day started, she has 2 young children. She has a husband, but she also has a lot of emails to answer. She said she had to get up that early to give herself time to come to herself. And so, ladies and gentlemen, the first thing you need to do, I'm hearing James say, is get up and have a morning devotion. It does set your day.
It's a calming experience. You know, it's not only just your faith, because here's what the research says: people of great faith are more likely to navigate really stressful times in a much more efficient fashion. I mean, that's what the research says. That's what the science says. But you know, I also say that there's some people that hope that they feel that way, but not necessarily. And so, like, just a calming experience. It is a calming experience. It could be meditation. It could be yoga. I think for most people, though, we grew up with, most of us grew up with prayer, just saying us, you know, just a small prayer. And from your perspective, it's probably a little bit more than just a small prayer. I would think it was a sensational prayer.
Yeah, that's the way I'm putting that. Yeah, you're right. And but you're absolutely right. And then this is what she said, because this show today is to help us really manage the unexpected, to navigate through some things, because things come in us hard, and it's just no joke. Suicide is on the rampage. Do you mind me saying? I mean, she just said we're sitting here right now. She's sitting here. We're sitting here waiting to come on the show, and she gets a call about a potential suicide.
I did, and I will get, you know, it's interesting because I don't typically get a lot of those calls. Most of what I've done in the last several years has been more life coaching, and where people need to know what resources are, but in the last several weeks, and I do know this, Judy, this is also the time of the year where, you know, we have what is typically known as seasonal affective disorder, SAD. When the seasons change, we're more likely to experience all kinds of symptoms, you know, sleep disruption, irritability, in some cases, anger, depression, anxiety. For some people, it's physical pain, but you see a shift, a shift in functioning. But it's called SAD, and so lots of families need to be mindful of that. If all of a sudden you see a change in a loved one's functioning or the way how they're acting, or a little bit more anxiety, a little bit more depression, a little bit more meanness, then you think, it may be a lot more to it. It may be a function of just what happens to them. If you go back and you track years historically, and you think, this is a tough time for the year for my sister or my uncle or whoever. And it is because they are very sensitive to the seasonal changes. So people say, well, what does that mean? It means that too often we're not getting outside. And so again, you have to make shifts in your choices and your intentional choices. This is a time where we always tell our patients, listen, make sure you spend at least 10 minutes outside, but if you can't do that, take a vitamin D supplement. That's what the experts say at this point, that if you can't get out and if you have jobs and like this bank you were talking about, she doesn't have time to get outside. Right. So you want her to make sure she takes care of her health. And so her health would be, of course, eating well, and the fall season. Think about this, Jim. The fall season is a wonderful season to eat seasonal vegetables. And seasonal vegetables also help with managing stress.
What is seasonal vegetables?
Well, like fall, pumpkin, sweet potatoes, root potatoes, root vegetables, broccoli, cabbage, all of these things. If you look at the science, go back and look at the science. It's not that they're not only nutritional, but there's some research again that points to stress management. So, all of this is part of navigating these very unpredictable times.
And women seem to have more stressors than men. And so a lot of, and I don't know, is that because men at a certain point, I'm going to let you help me with, I'm going to let you help me.
Okay, let me tell you. Let me tell you what my sense is. My sense is that women simply just have, they're more demanding. And we tend to be managers. We're not only partners, we're not only wives, but we're also mothers. And mothers tend to make more decisions and have to anticipate more. And so,
yes,
consequently, you couple that with our hormones and those physiological, issues that tend to come up from time to time. And it does seem like a whole lot. And I think historically, when you look at what the research says as far as who is more likely to admit to it, we're going to admit to it.
Exactly. Exactly.
Men may have it, but when you look at the reporting, 80% of women, like during the pandemic, which I thought was an issue, I read the study where 80% of women during the pandemic report experiencing more stress, you and me included. Only 60% of men said, well, no, we handle it. I think there's this notion that they have to be strong and they have to be able to handle whatever comes down the pipe. But when you look at the research, it is women who experience, or at least report experiencing, the most stress, the most anxiety, the most mental health challenges.
Yeah. Now, I don't know about anywhere else, but I know in Tallahassee right now, the climate is, to me, just terrible. To me, between a lot of people. How can we, and I'm sure this is going to come up with everybody, y'all, because all over the world, in all different states and everything, people are dealing with, I guess, just anger with each other for whatever reason. How can we, and I want y'all to help, because this is going to hit your city too if it's not there. How can we manage the climate so it don't become so
toxic?
Okay.
So that's the word you're looking for.
Okay, that's the word I'm looking for.
You're saying that what you are witnessing are so many toxic situations. What you are witnessing are things that we've never witnessed before. I think people used to have negative feelings about situations or other people for reasons, but we were always taught that your response to any situation is basically kindness. that you look out for other people, that you do the right thing. There are rules to how you should behave. And I think what's happened, coming off of this last, we look to the leadership the previous administration, people really gave themselves permission to say and do anything. We have a world that, it was okay to say things about situations. It was okay to do things. It was okay to point out people's weaknesses and the things that you didn't like about them. We didn't grow up in a world like that. We were taught the exact opposite. And so now we see all these people who feel like they have permission to say these things and to do these things. But unfortunately, the impact is that it hurts multiple people. And so now we either A, don't say anything, or if we even think something's potentially toxic, we get out of the way. We stay away from it. Before we were taught, and I don't know about your generation.
How old are you? I meant to go back to that.
I'll be 74 this year.
Do y'all see how beautiful she is?
But
she's 72. That's 74. That's that wellness that we have to make sure that we take care of ourselves.
Yeah, but what I think is important here is that we come from a generation that was taught to come up with solutions. That you are part of the solution. You're not part of the problem. You're part of the solution. So what kinds of solutions can you come up with that's going to make a difference in you? We were to be game changers. We were to be the pioneers, and we're not really sending that message as we should. That look at a young generation that's ready, and they can do it differently than we did, and they can do it in ways that I can't even imagine. I was laughing with you because I am so weak when it comes to technology. But to teach that generation that you're part of the solutions, that it is you, that you all will make the difference. What they say is that, what is it, by 2040? This world will be a blend. This will be a brown world. This will no longer be a world that is divided as it was when I was growing up. There's two sides. We will be a blended. It's called a browning in America. We will be a blended country at this point. We're completely blended. And so we need to be learning solutions now. We don't need to be divided as we have become. Certainly in these last several years of my lifetime.
Yeah, and so we got to find solutions, and I think that helps us manage the unexpected. And I'm glad you're saying that, because I know a lot of people say, "What can we do? What do we do? How do?" And that's my thought as I sit and listen. My thought is, what is it that I can give? How do I help people manage this? How do I manage this? What can I give? What is it that we can make happen? So we have the Sister Girls Network, Jane, and what's that? I love it because the idea is to bring so many women from the different spectrum of everywhere. It started in Tallahassee, but because of technology, now we have people all over who's joining. And it's just to bring us together to understand and to be there, to be a support, encouragement, irregardless to our race, and we don't ignore it. We are Black women, we are white women, we are Asian, we are whatever we are. But still a certain respect to know that I'm here for you.
Well, that's exactly what you've done. You've built a sense of community. And I think what we don't, I guess we had different communities, but you built a sense of community where you're belonging to a group that shares the same philosophy. So, again, what you're teaching, because what that's going to do is going to spread to other groups. And so you're part of the solutions. You when you say, what can I do? No, it's what you're already doing. Yeah, and I think a lot of us, we're doing things that we don't even recognize what we're doing. But to me, a takeaway here is that if you have the ability to build a sense of community that is positive, that is nurturing, that is supportive, that is, looking at solutions to whatever it is. I mean, the solution could be cleaning out a dog farm. I mean, but think about this. Yeah, think about a group, this group of women that you had. If you said, all right, ladies, this Saturday, we're going to go out to the major parks. There are going to be 30 of us. We're going to be nicely socially distanced, but we're going to take some time to really clean up this park. And then we're going to go over this side of town, and we're going to provide a picnic for 20 kids who have done really well in school, but who don't have the opportunity to do this. You know, because you can go to any school and a principal will say, I need some, these 20 kids could sure use a perk up.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yes.
What have you done? You become part of the solution.
Yes. Don't that sound easy? So y'all, even where we are, whatever we can do to help people navigate through the unexpected. And I want to say this, just as the girl reached out to me this morning, let's reach out to someone. Let's reach out to someone that has given you the opportunity to be heard. Just reach out and say, don't. And I think this month is Suicide Awareness Month.
It is indeed. And certainly this is the time to be aware of those symptoms that you may see in your loved ones.
Such as?
Well, you know, usually what will happen is that you will hear people start talking about death. And some of the other things you'll see is that people start getting away with their possessions, or they will become emotionally cut off or closed off. And you'll see, I think what we typically though, see withdrawal like we've never seen before. And of course, don't get me wrong, there's some people who can hide that, you know, just great at masking those kinds of symptoms. But usually there's some sign we can pick up on. And should we see that sign, I think it behooves all of us to understand there is something that we can do. And we can say to a person, you know, I have a sense that something is going on. Can I help you? You know, or have you been having a difficult time? You want to be very specific about your questions. How's your sleep? You been eating? I see it. One of the things that I've seen over the years, which is not, and I'm not telling you this is scientific in any way, but when I have patients that are profoundly depressed, I look at their eyes, and I see a grayness underneath the eyes. And as they get better, it goes away. You see the spark come back. But if you have a loved one, you see that spark gone, then you can say to them, listen, you know what don't we get this checked out? And if you're afraid to use the word suicide, here's what I would tell my patients. Let's go get you a little bit of clearance. And so I will go with you. Let's go to your primary doctor. Let's just make sure everything is okay. So in other words, you're taking a step. That's part of the solution. That's part of navigating difficult times.
So, and y'all, and I know this is not just the show just happening today. I talked with a principal of another school here today, and she reminded me when she was going. Things just changed, and she didn't know that she was depressed. She said she just thought, but several of her friends, me included, started noticing she wasn't the same person. It was like things.
Her energy was different.
Yeah, and she said, "No, I'm just getting older, I guess." But we were like, "No, it's something has seriously changed." And we went to eat one day, and I said, "I just noticed something different. Are you okay?" And she was like, "Well, yeah." And then she broke down. But when she got checked, she was severely depressed. And she was telling me today, she said, "But you all noticed that." And so, as Jane is saying, y'all pay attention to the people around you. Pay attention to your family. Pay attention to yourself. And don't be afraid to say anything. You can't be afraid to say anything. You have to talk about it. It don't mean that you're weak or anything. It means that you need help for a moment. Right?
Oh, absolutely. I think historically, we've been afraid to put language. We were not taught to put language on our kids.
So we weren't taught that.
No. Taught to be strong, taught to push through, and particularly women of color.
Yes.
You push through. It doesn't matter what's going on in your world. You just push through and keep on moving. And so I think, that to teach your children to teach your husband for that matter, or boyfriend or whatever,
Teach your girlfriend.
right? That it is okay to put language, if you're feeling sad or there's a change in your ability to get up in the morning. If you want to stay in the bed and just not get up, just the motivation is completely gone. And that's such a shift in your function. It's time to do something about it.
Yeah. And men, we want you to get help too, because sometimes the men hold on to us and they go into stroke. And I don't know who told me that, but they said men commit suicide more than women. Is that?
I'm not sure about this. I haven't really looked at the statistics, and it could be. It could be. But if that is the case, then, it's just like what I was saying before. They're less likely to report, mental distress. Less likely to go in, to take care of it or identify it as a problem. So that makes sense, when you hear that kind of information. I do think, though, that because of the pandemic, the mental health conversation has become a much bigger conversation. I've been in this business for 52 years,
Okay.
and for years, you just didn't hear about mental health. I would talk about it. I was always talking about teen mental health because that's my wheelhouse is teens. But you just didn't hear about it. Now think about this. In the last 2 years, have you not heard more about mental health than you had almost in a lifetime?
Yes.
Because it has exposed what's been there. That, there's just been so many, people's lives have been so upended that certainly it's going to impact them. And so we talk about that. We now learn strategies. We now know that there are resources out there. We now know that there is help. All you have to do is reach out for it.
And you mentioned teen help, mental health. Let's talk on that a little bit, because I honestly believe that our children are suffering a lot. And especially, Jane, in our schools, especially our minority. And I do believe that you said 2040 in a completely brown world.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly believe that. And at this point, our children are really suffering mentally.
Well, they're suffering mentally for a lot of reasons. These last 2 years have been a kick in the rear end for a lot of folks. Kids have been quarantined. And teens specifically, that's how they grow and develop. They do that social interaction. And when you eliminate that, it has changed. There's been learning challenges. They, again, their worlds, one thing about teens is that they thrive with structure. They don't like it, but they thrive with it. And that structure's been gone. And so every day, when you go in, you've got kids, teens believe they can just take over the world.
They really do.
They can do that.
They have all the answers.
For everything. But these last 2 years have been a huge impact on how they've been able to just navigate the world. And so when you talk about the rise of mental health issues with teens, it ties right along with the pandemic itself.
So how do we help? I know a lot of my kids are feeling. A lot of my children are feeling it. And you're talking about you're not technology savvy. Some of my children are. Some of our parents are. And so they really don't. And I know this because we partner with Governor Charters, and we have a lot of students that they're not grasping it. And so what they do, they act out, and they rather stay home. Now, not because they don't like learning, they do want to learn, but there's so many different things, and so they're becoming angry, unruly, scared, and so they display that in the homes. Some of our parents are becoming more emotionally abusive towards our children. These are all the things that I've experienced with families. What do we do better?
These are very special. I mean, a lot of families are going through this, but there are a lot of families that are not. So if you compare a lot of these families with your healthier families, it depends on what kind of resources you have. First of all, well, a large part of this is education. That if you can go back and first of all, you tell your parents, listen, you're not by yourself. Other thing was, you need to know that you're not yourself. It has to be frustrating, when your child is not being compliant or not listening to you. But let's see if we can get to the bottom of it. You can always think in terms of solution. Whenever you approach any kind of major situation, you can gather together a group of people and talk about solutions. So this family, what are you doing with this? What are you doing with this? All right, you've got this level of frustration. How are you handling this? Well, did you know that there were these kinds of resources for you that this is here or that? Did you know that there's certain, there's community mental health, or there are psychologists that give time for evaluations, and these are the resources there. If you know your resources, then you feel hope. What part of what's happening, they don't see an end to it. You've got to know that there's an end to whatever the experience is.
I'll always talk with solution, and you got to know that there's an end to this.
Right.
You always got to know. And so we have to help people and ourselves know that this is going to end. And then always talk with solution.
Yeah, with the idea that there is a solution. But the idea that taking action. Here's the thing, Judy. Taking action is going to always make us feel, and it's always going to make us feel hopeful. If you don't take action, things remain the way that they are. But taking action makes a difference. Think about all the things like this morning when you were on the phone with this woman. You took action. Not only did you listen, but you called 911 at the same time. You took action, and so you knew that there was going to be an end to this. Now, sometimes we teach families that I remember. I know this is a real big pit, but years ago, I used to work with kids who, between the ages of 14 and 18, who had been incarcerated for all kinds of things that they had gotten themselves involved in, reckless behavior. But their thinking was this, I just have to do my time like my grandfather, my uncle. I've got to go and do my time. So you change the message. Say, no, this is not the way. Let me explain that there are other solutions to these problems. That this does not have to be your future. That this, you don't have to be angry with each other. You don't have to participate in these behaviors, and you don't have to do your turn. Mm-hmm. So, you can see I'm always hopeful. I'm always hopeful that solutions are there. Again, remember, I grew up in a generation that we always look for solutions.
And you know what else I think, James? I'm sitting and listening to you. I know I didn't open the line, but I wanted Jane to really talk to our mind. I wanted us to hear. Darsh, I know Darsh Strong, this Agnes was like a second mom to her, my grandmother, and dealing with that loss have not been easy. So many other people, but Jane, I wanted you, and I'm glad that we're talking like we're talking, simply because I want people to grasp this. And you keep referring to your generation, and one of the things that the Bible stated was about this generation encouraging this generation, and I believe that we have to have. I told one of the older mothers that I love talking to the older women, because I want to know, how did you make it through this? How did you handle this? What was it like? Harriet Tubman, I'd love to go back and read by Harriet Tubman. That's one of my mentors. And I said, I have everything Harriet Tubman has except a gun. I don't have a gun to make people comply or do. But I think it's important that the younger generation and my generation hear the other generations, so we can understand how you made it through, because you had a tough time. I don't think like this.
Not quite like this, but there is, you're right, there's tremendous institutional knowledge in older generations. Most of us don't ever take the time to look for it or listen to it. And so I think that when you talk about spending time listening, Again, you're at a point in your life where you understand, how valuable that is. Yes. And again, the younger generation, because they have access to such information. Those that do have the technology and have it down, they feel like they can get it. It's just a matter of looking up. Let's Google it.
That's true.
Google University.
That's true.
Yeah,
that is true.
But I do think to sit down and to pause and to sum up some of the things that we're talking about today in terms of navigating tough times. You're right, educating yourself. Learning from others, working with supports, taking care of yourself. All of these things together, everything that you touched on today is part of how we navigate very difficult times. But most important, from your perspective, it is prayer. And I think that today, I think there'll be lots of takeaways for your audience. They'll feel perhaps a difference, even if it's a shift in just one or two things. It made a difference to just hearing the story with you and this one, taking the time to pause. It made a difference.
Thank you. Y'all have listened to my mental health counselor. She talked to me today. She talked to us today. Jane, I want to thank you. I want to say to everybody out there, build your own resource book so we can have them. I think that's lacking in our community, and all around in our communities everywhere. Some people just don't know where to go. And I believe if we can get it, I'm going to work on it to get, if I don't know if we have one in Tallahassee, I'm going to find out. I want to make sure that we have a resource book. So if people call, or we have a meeting, one of the solutions is to have a resource book. And so we can have that where we can point people to help them come to the ideal of a solution and know that this is going to end. That this, where you are right now, is going to end. We want to help you to end it well. The managing the unexpected. First acknowledge that it's there and then deal with it. Get help. Don't try to do this stuff alone. Life is life, man. So let's try to not try. My sister in Scotland said try. It's a failure word. She said try out your vocabulary and just do it. And so that's what we want to do. Jane, you got 30 seconds to give them some closing words, and then we're gonna get out of here.
I would say that today's the day to start. To take a look at those things and to take control of the things that you can change. To take action where you can. Pause, but most importantly, take care of yourself.
Oh man, what a better way to end this show. Take care of yourself. That's how you manage unexpected time. And y'all see how calm she is? I just want to say that's usually how I find her. I'm sure that all of us would attest, those of us who know her, that's how she is. I'm pretty calm too, even calm. Had a little situation that happened before the show. Doc D was just as calm as all outdoors. And that's how you have to handle life. That's how you have to handle the situation. He just told me, relax. I got this. And so when you can do that for somebody, do it. All right. Help them to relax. It ain't the worst that could happen. Okay. So thank you all for joining the Real Talk with Judy Live radio show. Thank you, Jane Martin, for being on here.
What a pleasure.
And I look forward to more. We got some more planned for you all. But also join me tonight in Bible study at 7:30, Life Changers on Zoom. Pastor's going to be teaching us tonight, so join us. And then join me again Sunday morning at 11 a.m. At Life Changers. This has been Real Talk. And whatever you do, you can manage the unexpected by managing yourself and looking for resources and coming with the ideal solution that this is going to end. That's Real Talk. I see you in the future. You do so much better than you do right now.
Real Talk with Judy. Real Talk with Judy on the radio. Real Talk with Judy.